Namaste and welcome everyone to my channel. My name is Hrishikesh. I'm a Vedic astrologer. And before I talk about the topic of the day, first of all, I want to thank all of you who left their very valuable comments and feedback on my previous video, 12th house and marriage. And there's something else that I wanted to talk to you about as well before I talk about 7th house, 7th lord, spouse, and marriage today. Okay. See, there is this tendency that I've seen when you hear something on YouTube related to astrology or on the net, you read something on the net, the combinations, the verdict, the analysis, okay, the dictums related to so and so planets in so and so houses, you tend to go back to your own chart and you try to play out the scenario over there. See what happens, if there is a negative combination, there's also a combination that can cancel it, which you do not know about. You do not have the complete picture. Okay. Now, without the full knowledge, you have this thought which becomes dominant in your mind. Slowly, it becomes a monster in your mind. And if those negative things aren't supposed to happen in your life, they will surely manifest. Because your dhyana, your chitta, your mind is focused on the statement because you believe in that statement. Oh, my Lord or my planet is over here, so this will happen for sure. So, slowly, when you're trying, if you're not a Vedic astrologer, your own self, if you're not studied this science under a proficient and real guru, what will happen is that all this knowledge that you have derived from the net, from the YouTube, will make your mind a very chaotic place, slowly making you go mad. Because then you listen to so-and-so astrologer, they'll give you so-and-so remedy, you'll try that, then you'll try something else, then you'll listen to something else from someplace else, and you'll try that as well. You're messing up your life. Don't do that. Even with me, just when I share something on my channel, my motive is that I want to share the real knowledge from the tradition to you. My motive is not to scare you, okay? My motive is not to make you come to me for consultations, all right? I'm happy doing this. I get happy when I share something, okay? So when you listen to videos related to astrology on YouTube or the net, including mine, do not take them as a final picture of life. And I'll tell you, if somebody tells you, if any astrologer, including me, if I tell you or any astrologer tells you that, oh, you have a very bad chart, okay, there's a lot of pending karma, there's no hope for you, never believe it. Go to bhakti towards a deity that you believe in. Increase your devotion. Increase your faith in the divine power. The blessings of the divine, the blessings of God can override any problems in your life. So with this, I'll begin the topic of the day, 7th lord and marriage. So what we did previously was 12th house and marriage, and today we'll see the marriage from the 7th house, the 7th lord. All right. And before we begin, I'll do my namaskars, and if you want, you can as well, to the gurus and Shri Ganesh. All right, let's go on. So the Vedic word for spouse is Dara, and the 7th house is known as Daresh. And 7th house is basically how we see the marriage. What is our attitude towards the marriage, towards the spouse? And how will be our spouse is seen from the 7th house in the Navamsha, the D9. Okay, but we are talking about the 7th house in the Rashi chart today, in the D1 chart today, not the D9. So 7th house, the condition of the 7th house shows our attitude towards the marriage, towards the spouse. And 7th house is not just limited to spouse. It also shows your business, okay, private service. It's also the Dwara. It's 7th from the ascendant, the Lagna. It's a door to the world. It is how you connect with the society, with the people outside. Okay. So it shows attitude to all, it shows your attitude to all these things. Fine. And the natural zodiac chart, which starts from Aries, the seventh house. The sign over there is Libra. The lord of the seventh house, the natural lord of the seventh house, Shukra, Venus, and the Karaka, the significator of the seventh house, is also Venus. Now, Karaka significators are very important. They are like God of that house. Okay. So if anything is in problem with the Karaka, the significator, then no matter how much of good combination you have with that house, some things can be missing, some things can be off, or those good combinations will not work. So if seventh house, Shukra, Venus is the Karaka, significator. If there is a curse on Venus in your chart, all right, you will see sufferings in relationships. Now, what do you mean by curse on Venus? When one or more planet, one or more male flick planet afflicts, any planet, or here we are talking about Venus. So if one or more male flick planet afflicts Venus, Venus will be under a curse. Okay, so the significator is under a curse now. So we have to focus there. We have to forget the seventh house, the planets in seventh house for a while, because the significator has gone into a curse. So sufferings will come. Now there are remedies for everything. So do not jump to the final picture. Okay. One more thing. Venus and Mars combination. When Venus and Mars are together, especially it has been seen in female chart, they undergo the experiences of sexual abuse, molestation, and in worst case scenarios, even rape. So if you know someone who has this combination, or if your children have this combination, there are remedies for it, for protection. So such events do not happen in life. I have written an article about it, and what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description box below where you can access it, and I've given the remedy over there for free for everyone. It has been given to me by my guru with a motive that you have to share this essential protective remedies, have to be shared with the world for free. They cannot be kept within or hidden. So I'll put that link, and you can access the link over there. You can read about the combination and also remedies mentioned over there. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that anyone who has Venus and Mars combination has gone through that. There are planets protecting you as well. So if the protector is very strong, then such things will be avoided. But here I mention it because you need to be alert. Okay. And even in male chart nowadays, even in male chart, you have this combination, such events can possibly happen. So, even males can protect themselves. There is no limitation to the remedy that it is supposed to be, for females only. It's a very different world that we are living in now. Okay. Venus with male planets, Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu. So, like I told you, it's a curse on Venus. If Venus is conjoined or has the aspect of, at least two malefic planets, it's under a curse. Also, seventh house, you have to understand, is also the Maraka. It's a Maraka house to the ascendant. Whenever the dasha of the second house or the seventh house is running, okay, you could go through serious health issues sometimes, and it can also become Maraka, can kill you. That dasha can also kill you. Okay, there are remedies for it again. So no need to get, all hyper or tensed hearing this. So it's a Maraka to the ascendant. So seventh house has the power to also, finish off the Lagna, the native. So the combinations in the seventh house have to be studied very carefully. All right. Now, like I said, Venus is connected to the water element, the Jala Tattva, signifying relationships. So Venus is in trouble in the chart. It's under a curse. Then you will see sufferings in your life related to relationships for sure. Seventh house is not just the house of, marriage, business, love. It's also the house of war. There's a proverb that goes around, everything is fair in love and war. Something like that. So seventh house is also the house of war. And I have, put a very popular chart that we studied, when we were learning. And I'll tell you how it's connected to war with that example later on in the video. Seventh house is also the house that signifies or shows or is connected to your private organs. All right. So malefic influence over there in the seventh house can show some kind of problems with those areas of the body as well. You can, have in the dasha, the period, some disease or some problem can come to those parts. I'm not saying there would be a problem for birth, but yes, there are chances that there could be some problem related to those organs. Okay. Now, Guru can say, what do I mean by that? If Jupiter, the most benefic, is somehow attached or involved or connected with the seventh house, he has a power to save the significations of the seventh house. So he can save your marriage, he can save your business, he can save you from any kind of illness or problems related to that house, provided that Jupiter is in a good condition, is strong, and has a power to help and protect. Only Guru can save. All right. So if you have a Guru in life, and if you have faith on your Guru, not just your seventh house, not just your marriage, business, or spouse, everything in your life will work beautifully. Now, that is the real meaning. Okay? Only Guru can save you from all evils in this life. So never ever cheat your Guru or do something against your Guru if you have Guru. If you don't have, no need to start running to search the right one. Pray to God. Pray to God to send you the right Guru, because we are living in the Kali Yuga. There are more imposters alive out there than real ones. Okay. See, all about marriage and relationships. So, I put bullet points over here for you to know that just from the 12th house or just from the 7th house, we cannot declare, okay, marriage is going to be like this. All these things have to be seen. Lagna Lord placement. If the ascendant is not placed in a good position from the 7th house or the 7th Lord, then it shows that you do not have the understanding or the intelligence, to work with marriage, or to understand your spouse, or to understand marriage. For example, the ascendant Lord has gone to the 8th house. Such a person will not be able to understand the marriage of the spouse. 12th house and Lord has to be seen. 7th house and Lord has to be seen. Venus, the significator of the 7th house, has to be checked. How is Venus in the charts? Okay. Not just D1, all the divisional charts as well, especially D9. Tithi Lord. Tithi Lord governs your relationships because it's related to the Jala Tattva, the water element. So how is the condition of the Tithi Lord? I think I've made a video on Tithi Lord previously. You can go and check it out. Chandra, moon, and its strength. Moon is your mana, it's your mind. It shows what you like, what you don't like, your mood, okay? And how it is placed from the 7th house, from the marriage. So it can show the approach of your mana to the marriage. So moon has to be checked. Which tithi is the moon of? If it's of Amavasya, there's no light in the moon. I've talked about it in my tithi video in more detail, which you can go and check out. Dara Karaka. Dara Karaka is basically one of the Charakaraka that shows your spouse. Okay, it's a very different concept. Probably one day, if I feel like, I'll make a video on it and put it out here for all of you. Atma Karaka is your soul. The planet who becomes Atma Karaka signifies your soul. So what does your soul want has to be also seen. Darapad is the Arudha, the image of the 7th house. These are advanced topics. Upapada Lagna is the image of the 12th house, manifestation basically in the real world. And all these things have to be checked as well. Like I said, curses in a chart either related to Venus or Darakaraka, and so on. D9, the Navan chart for the Bhagya, and how is the spouse like? Okay, we have to understand that as well. Mangalika dosha, the energy flow of Mars. So all these points, all these things have to be analyzed, okay, in depth to arrive at the conclusion for remedies, or for understanding how the marriage is going to be like. Okay. All right. So, seventh house is lorded by Venus, Shukra. Okay, significator of relationships and of marriage. Now, if Venus is blocked in your chart, and what do I mean when I say blocked? If you see in the chart, Venus is in the seventh house, and if Venus has two malefic planets behind it, okay, in the adjoining houses behind it, if it has two malefic planets, that means Venus is blocked. But in this scenario, what will happen is the native, the person, for that person, it will be very difficult to get married, because for going to Venus, there is blockage. Okay, and if Venus has malefics after its placement, like the consecutive houses after Venus, two malefic planet, Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu. So that means that a person will get married. Okay, condition, there's no blockage behind, but to sustain the marriage will be a difficulty. So if Venus is blocked in a chart, that also has to be seen. What is, how is Venus placed in the chart? Okay, this is a very important information. Not many people know it. Oh, Venus is over here, exalted, nice. Venus is in this house, great, but it's blocked. So now Venus can't give its results. It cannot work. So very vital information. Very quickly, I'll do planets in seventh house. Okay, I'll give you general information about it. There are many, many more facets to it, sides to it, which it's not possible for me to put it out here. Okay, probably one day if I teach, and and if there are students that really want to learn Vedic astrology, and that also from me, then probably I'll reveal it everything over there in a class format. But I can't give it out here on a video on YouTube. So I'll give you general informations. If Sun is in the seventh house, we're talking about a seventh house, okay? Here, if Sun is in the seventh house, that native can lose directions when it comes to relationships. Okay, excessive sexuality or affairs, or a lot of ego could be there that can hamper the relationship. Moon in the seventh house, I do not consider it good, because Moon is very fickle, and if you know Chandrama, Moon had 27 wives, so multiple relationships. Okay, Mars is in Marana Karakasthana. Now, to define Marana Karakasthana, it will take another video altogether, but basically in simple terms, the planet is dying over there. The planet is not comfortable over there. And Mars is the significant of brahmacharya, celibacy. So Mars wants you to have celibacy or one relationship only. So if you have Mars in the seventh house, become a one-woman man. Okay. It can also cause a lot of arguments, fights in the relationship as well, because seventh house is also the house of war. Mercury also becomes Maranakaraka in the seventh house, and here it can give problems related, to understand marriage. Probably the maturity is not there, or you could see things. Sometimes there are some people who like having relationships with people older than them. Even that can be seen from displacement. Mercury in the seventh house. Jupiter in the seventh house is good. It's positive, and it shows good attitude towards the spouse. And let me go back to Mercury. And Mercury, it can show a very childish attitude towards the marriage and spouse as well. Okay. Coming back to Jupiter, Jupiter in the seventh house is very good, very positive. It can show that a native has a very good attitude towards the spouse, towards a marriage. But because Jupiter in the seventh house is in the house opposite from where it gets directional strength, Jupiter has Digbala, directional strength, very strong in the Lagna, in the ascendant. Now it is in the house opposite to it. So it is losing its directional strength. So what will happen that the native will lose his intelligence. Okay. And it can also show that the wife will have more intelligence, or the spouse here, because when I say wife, take it as spouse. Okay. Male or female, depending on who you are. So the spouse can have more intelligence in the marriage. Venus in the seventh house, very good for relationships. Because the Karaka, the significator, is there in the seventh house, which is good, which is a blessing, which is nice. But because it's Venus, if it's not afflicted, that's good. Venus can also give multiple relationships. Saturn gets directional strength in the seventh house. It's Digbala over there, all right, which is a good thing. But Saturn will cause suffering in the relationships. Suffering and sorrow will come. One more problem with Saturn in the seventh house is that the person who has this combination, the native, will not be able to understand the marriage and the spouse. At times also will not be able to understand the physical side of a relationship, because Saturn is in the Kama Trikona. Okay. So seventh house Saturn, I will say it's not good, because you will not be able to understand the spouse or the marriage, and then there will be a distance that will be created. Sorrow and sufferings will come. Entire life will go like that, You'll never be able to understand the spouse. So people who have Saturn in 7, try to, sit down and try your level best to be open to your spouse. Rahu in the 7th also gets Digbala, direction strength. Rahu in the 7th house, see, Rahu is a significant of illusions, of being cheated. So either, the person who has this can cheat or can get cheated as well. If nothing bad is happening, then good. But the moment you have doubts on your spouse, problems will start in your marriage. So trust your spouse. Okay. Which is very difficult when you have Rahu in the 7th house. It's not easy to trust your spouse, because Rahu will give you all those doubts for sure. And eventually it will cause, the illusion of the marriage to break. You'll come to know something that could break your marriage as well. Okay. But these are not the only outcomes of Rahu in 7th house. There are many more as well. So if you have Rahu in the 7th house, do not be worried if nothing wrong has happened to you yet. Ketu in the 7th house. Now, Ketu is not good in the 7th house of marriage. Okay. Either you'll have no relationships in life, or it will be very difficult to maintain. The 7th house is also the house of your sexual partners. So Ketu can block you from all those things, from marriage as well. Or if it gives you the marriage, once you get married, you'll start feeling, I made a mistake. This is a mistake. This is the biggest mistake of my life. Why did I get married? And Ketu will not give you the happiness of marriage. Because wherever Ketu sits, there's a big 0 over there. Okay. So I hope very quickly I gave you all the vital information of all these planets in the 7th house. Now let's move on to 7th Lord in different houses, in all the 12 houses. Okay. All right. 7th Lord in the 1st house, the Lagna, the ascendant. People who have this combination, they have a fondness, a very high fondness to be always surrounded by people of the opposite sex. Okay. If there are no malefic influences, then such a person can always be surrounded by people of the opposite sex, or like being surrounded by people of the opposite sex, okay, but will not have any kind of extramarital relationships with them, or uh, not multiple relationships. Okay, there won't be any multiple relationships, but that person can be surrounded by people of the opposite sex all the time. But if the dignity of the planet is not good, then that person can have multiple relationships. Okay, even affairs after the person gets married. Okay, but if there's a planet like Mars is a significant of brahmacharya, celibacy. So Mars will not give you that unless it is in a different dignity state. Okay, so you have to see which planet is there, the condition of the planet, okay, the strength of the planet, and a lot of other things. So seventh lord in first house, there are very high chances that a person can have multiple relationships in life. Okay, seventh lord, when it goes to the second house, will surely give multiple relationships. Even after marriage, a lot of affairs can take place for such a person. All right. Now, sometimes these things have been noticed that people having this combination, they are very lazy in what they want to do in life. They always like postponing work. Okay, so if you have this, don't do that. Another thing, they have a desire for spouse's wealth, or the wealth of the spouse will help them. The spouse's wealth or the spouse will bring them good luck for them to grow financially in life. Seventh lord in second house. Okay. Seventh lord in the third house. Now there's a cross that I have put here and some other places as well. First, we'll talk about seventh lord in the third house. Here, one thing which is not good is that there's trouble related to the child part. Either if the child is born, the child does not survive, okay, or the couple will have a problem to have a child. Okay, now this combination is there in Priyanka Chopra's chart, which I've put as an example in the slides ahead, and you'll come to have a look at it as we go further. So this is one of the other problem. And the other thing is that seventh lord also has gone to the house of Maithuna Bhava. Okay, you can Google Maithuna Bhava for what it means. So it's also the house of Parakram, courage, So such a person, if depending on the planet, what kind of planet is there, his courage, his parakrama can be more focused on having affairs or relationships with the opposite sex. Okay. Seventh lord in the fourth house. This is a good placement. But one negative thing there is about this placement is that such a native will try to be very dominant and will try to control the spouse. Okay, like he or she, the person would want his or her spouse to be always under their control. And people who have this, they should avoid it, because that will surely hamper your marriage in a negative way. Otherwise, seventh lord in the fourth house is good. It's a good placement. It can bring a lot of good luck, prosperity, depending on the planet there. Okay, it can bless you with comforts and significations of the fourth house if the planet is benefic and strong. Seventh lord in the fifth house. This is a very excellent combination. Okay, first of all, seventh house is a house of Bhagwan Shiva, Lord Shiva. All right. Now, why is it that? It's a different matter. But seventh house is a house Lord Shiva. And fifth house is the house of mantra, your puja, your rituals, your bhakti, your devotion. So the seventh lord, when it goes to the fifth house, it shows that a person has the blessings of Lord Shiva and will get a very uh, good spouse, depending on the planet, depending on the nature of the planet, dignity of the planet. And the spouse will save the person, from death if such an event comes in life. Because this is a very good yoga. This is also the yoga for love marriages. Fifth house is also the house of love, and seventh lord is going to the fifth house. It can also give love marriage, but it can give you a very good spouse, and the marriage will be good if the planets are good. Okay. Now, one of the most problematic houses is coming, seventh lord in sixth house. This is not good at all. Sixth house is a house of celibacy, of enmity, disputes, of sachatru bhava, of diseases. Okay. So what will happen is such a native, his or a spouse will either be, very ill all the time and will force celibacy in the marriage, or the spouse will always make an excuse to not get physical with the native. And the native will suddenly start feeling that spouse is the enemy in life, will see the spouse as enemy, as shatru. Okay. And marriage will be devoid of any kind of happiness. There will be no happiness in the marriage. Also, it can completely, destroy any physical happiness in the marriage as well. And you can have sixth house as a house of enemies as well, and the spouse can also become your enemy in reality. So for such placements, you need to do serious Vedic remedies before the marriage and after the marriage. And people who have this, I tell them, please, I advise them to please go and visit a Vedic astrologer, consult a Vedic astrologer, because you need remedies for sure. For those who have seventh lord in the sixth house, in the eighth house, and in the 12th house, you need Vedic remedies before the marriage and after the marriage. Okay. Seventh lord in seventh house, very good placement. It's the dwara, it's a door that you connect with the world. Depending on the planet, if everything's good, you'll have connections with large number of people. Large number of people come to meet you. Okay, and very happy marriage. There'll be bliss in the marriage. Okay, a lot of other positive things in business will be good, depending on the planet again over there. And seventh house also shows that you have the blessings of the gurus, your parents, and Shiva again. Okay, so it is a good placement. Seventh lord in seventh house is a very good placement again. And seventh lord in eighth house, like sixth house, again very problematic. See, whenever the sixth house, eighth house, and the 12th house are the houses where Shani, Saturn, is the significator. So, and the seventh lord does not do well over there. Okay, so seventh lord, when it goes to the eighth house, the marriage is completely bereft of happiness. There is no happiness in the marriage. There is no sukha of marriage. There is only karmic suffering. This is your past life karma. It has come and you have to suffer. You have to face it in life. Also, eighth house is the second house to the seventh house. Okay, it is the second house can also become the maraka. The eighth house causes the breakage of the marriage, the first marriage I'm talking about. Seventh lord in the second, in the eighth house, can cause breakage of the marriage because it is maraka to the seventh house. So where would we see second marriage from? If this is the first marriage that is broken, 8th from the 7th house. So the second house, when you count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the second house will show you the second marriage, and 8th from the second house will show you the third marriage, and so on. All right. So 8th house is it becomes a marker for the 7th house. So it has a power to break the marriage. So when 7th lord goes to the 8th house, first, it can break your marriage as well, or because, it is supposed to give you this placement is supposed to give you karmic sufferings. You'll have to suffer in marriage. Okay. A very big superstar has this, and we'll come to know in the charts ahead. 7th lord, when in the 9th house, very good yoga, very, very good yoga, because it's gone to the house of bhagya, of fortune. Marriage can uplift a bhagya, provided it's a good planet in a good condition. And it shows again the blessings of Shiva. 9th house is a house of Tirth, temples, fathers, and gurus. So it says that there are blessings of guru on the marriage. Okay. 7th lord in the 9th house, very good. Whenever the 7th and the 9th lord are connected, generally this yoga is known as Saubhagya yoga. So when a person gets married, they rise in life, provided that the planets are good and in good dignity. 7th lord in the 10th house. Now here, the Karaka is not Saturn. The significant is not Saturn of the 10th house. And why have I put a cross over there? Because whenever 7th lord goes to the 10th house, it can make person become, have multiple affairs, multiple partners, multiple sexual partners. Okay. It is known as Jara Yoga, but not everyone who has 7th lord in the 10th house will do this. It depends on the planet. For example, a benefic Sattvic Brahmana planet like Jupiter is there, then such things cannot happen, provided Jupiter is in good condition. But 7th lord in the 10th house can make a person pursue multiple partners or multiple sexual partners in life, multiple relationships in life. Okay. 7th lord in the 11th house. That's a very good yoga if you have that, because you'll earn a lot through your wife. You'll gain financially from your wife, from your spouse. I'm so sorry. Okay. Whenever I say wife, again, please take it as spouse. So 7th lord, when it goes to the 11th house, there can be mediums of earning or gaining through the spouse. Okay. It's a house of Labha, it's a house of gains as well. So provided it's a good planet, again, it's a good condition. 7th lord in the 12th house. We come to the other problematic house where a cross is there. Not good. 12th house is the house of loss as well. The house of given away, like we discussed in the previous video. Okay. First of all, it can give you, I would say, less financial means, or it can make one, see poverty in life. You can also make the spouse spend heavily. And the spouse can become a cause of major concern for your financials in life. Such a person can, be hiding and running away from the spouse, avoiding the spouse. And a marriage can crumble. 7th house also the house of going away. So loss of spouse, probably, due to death, or your spouse can go abroad, live abroad, you could have a long distance relationship, probably during the Dasha period of that planet. The spouse can go away like that also. Not every time something bad has to happen. The spouse can go abroad as well. So distance could be created. Separation could be created, as it's in the 12th house. And one more thing, whenever the 7th lord has gone to the 12th house, it shows that there is no physical bliss in the marriage. The physical aspect of the relationship can be zero. And that will surely cause break to the marriage or trouble in the marriage. So if you have this combination, we see the act of sex, the Maithuna in the third house. From seventh house, it's in the ninth house. It's the dharma of marriage. Okay. One of the dharma of marriage. There are many other things that we see from the third house, but it is one of the dharma of marriage. So as a native, if you have this combination, you have to, fulfill that dharma. If this is not happening, there is no physical relationship between the couple. And if you're seventh lord in 12th house, there are high chances that something like this can happen. Then your marriage will slowly go down, can crumble, or separation can happen. Also, with such a placement, the native will not have support from anyone in the family or from gurus or from father. That's one of the other problem. Will have to fight everything on his or her own. Okay, so seventh lord in 12th house, you need remedies. Again, basically, I'll tell you basically what is happening. Seventh lord in the 12th house has gone. So in past life, you've done some karma against Lord Shiva, against the Shiva Lingam. And in very little sense, it means that probably you've destroyed life. It could be abortion. Okay. So such people who have this combination in this life, they can go through abortions as well, which you should not do. If you have this combination, you should avoid that, because that will now make the curse manifest in a more stronger way. This is a curse. Seventh lord in the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house is a curse for past life. So do not do things that can make the curse manifest in a more worse, way out here for you. Do not make it more bad than it is. So this is the kind of guidance that a Vedic astrologer can tell you. And if somebody comes to me who's not married, has 7th lord and 12th house, okay, fine, good. There's time to save this person. With proper guidance, with proper simple Vedic remedies, the person can have a stress-free life. I won't say a great life, because this is a curse. It's a karmic curse. You have to go through it, but you'll be able to manage it. Okay. All right. Some example charts will quickly go by. This is the chart of Priyanka Chopra. And as I told you, 7th lord here is Shukra, Venus, and has gone to the 3rd house. So like I said, problems related to child. And she had a child with surrogacy. Okay. And if you see the 7th lord is sitting with Mercury and Rahu, so it can show that her spouse is somebody who's younger and of, could be from foreign. Rahu is over there. The foreign element is there. So can be foreign to her, can be younger to her, which it is. Right. And also one more thing, Jupiter is there in the 7th house. And like I said, the guru can save. So attitude towards a marriage will be good. And Jupiter can help maintain the marriage nicely. This is the chart of legendary superstar Srimati Bachchan. And if you see the 7th lord, Leo sign over here, Sun, the lord has gone to the 8th house and is sitting with 3 planets over here, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. Okay, so, and Jupiter is not helping in any way as well. There's no aspect of Jupiter on this house on the 7th lord, but it has, in a way, there's a kartari happening. This two, whenever a house has planets before and after it, they would influence the house in middle. Jupiter is influencing in some way, but we have Rahu over here as well, so could cheat or get cheated in marriage. 7th lord in the 8th house, marriage can feel like a suffering. Okay, I will not say further. He's a public person, and all of you can read about his life on net. There are many literature available out there, and there are many things known about him and his personal life to some limit. All right, seventh lord in the 8th house. Great. Lata Mangeshkar ji. Seventh lord. There are two lords here, Mangal and Ketu, and both of them have gone to the 6th house. She never married in life. And in one interview, I remember she had said that I do not wish to be born again. And if I'm born, I don't want to be Lata Mangeshkar again. So despite the fame and the glory, imagine if a person has to say this, such a person has to say this, so much suffering would be there in their personal life. So that describes her life situation, bereft of happiness related to personal life. No marriage. Mangal Ketu, Mars is again the significant of celibacy, brahmacharya. Ketu is completely destroying the combination over here, the house over here as well. 12th house from the 7th house, not good. In the 6th house again, not good at all. Mercury, you would say Mercury is over here, but it's under a curse because there are two malefic planets with Mercury. Okay. Venus again is in a way blocked. You see the two houses? This is a Krura planet. We can say malefic for Venus, and Mars and Ketu. Venus is completely blocked. So even if she would have gotten married, it wouldn't have lasted. So she never got married. And in a way, when sometimes things don't happen, the will of the God is trying to protect you from further suffering. Okay. One more thing, despite having Jupiter in the ascendant, who has aspect on the 7th house. Okay. And even Rashi Drishti on the 7th house lords, even then. Chart of one of the richest business tycoons of India, of the world, Mr. Mukesh Ambani ji. And now, very interesting chart. Okay, 7th lord in the 8th house. What we discussed was it would be a curse. Okay, but you don't see that. I'll tell you why. The 8th lord, Venus, is in the house of Mars, and Mars, the 7th lord, is in the house of Venus. There is a parivartana happening. There is an exchange that is happening. So now Mars is not here. Mars has gone to the 7th house, and Venus has come to the 8th house. So Venus is a significator, being in the 8th house, that is known as Sadhu Shukra. Okay, either it makes a person like a sadhu, like nothing to do with the marriage, or it will make a person everything to do with the spouse as well. Here, the scenarios have not happened because we see a very strong Jupiter, a retrograde Jupiter. A retrograde Jupiter is very strong, having aspect on the 7th house. Okay, the 9th aspect, 12, 11, 10, 9. On the 7th house, Sun is exalted over here in the sign of Aries. So there are a lot of saving graces available in this chart. But even then, as Shukra has gone to the 7th house, given effects of the 8th house, given effects of the 8th house, there would be some problems. But Jupiter is there. Jupiter is given its blessings. So things can be managed. And also, as I told you, it's a dwara of how you connect with the world. Surya exalted over there, Sun is exalted. So you know the kind of people that come to his place to meet him. How is he connected to the world? Okay. And one more thing, Ketu is also placed here. Mars is also the lord of the 2nd house. And because of the Parivartana, Mars is given effects of the 7th house, like being in the 7th house. That is also known as the Shrimanta Yoga. Yoga that can make you wealthy. 2nd lord in the 7th house. Very small information I've given you over here. All right, but very important information. This is a chart of Mahatma Gandhi ji. 7th lord Aries again has gone to the ascendant, sitting with Venus and Mercury. Okay, and I'll say very few things. Those who can understand will understand. Venus and Mars can show excessive orientation towards sexuality, but Mars being in the being the seventh lord, having the aspect to Jupiter, being in the ascendant, you can read about his experiments with celibacy, where he tested his celibacy. Mars is the significator of celibacy. Okay. So marriage will not be that great, but being, having Jupiter in the seventh house, it will sail through. All right. Read about it. That's all I can say. The chart of Adolf Hitler, the seventh house of love and war. And as you can see, the seventh lord Mars, it's in its own house, but in Maranakaraka Sthana. But who's dying over here? The seventh house is dying over here. The seventh lord is dying over here. So his sexual partners or his spouse will die. And you can read about what happened to his sexual partners and his spouse. Okay, Mercury is also over here in Maranakaraka Sthana again. Okay, and Venus again with Sun again in the seventh house. So, Venus, Mercury with Mars' Sun, it's all afflicted. Also, Saturn has an aspect on the seventh house, the 10th aspect. So this house is under a curse. So war manifested. The partners that he had died in very, bad circumstances. Okay, Mercury can show sexual partners are younger to him. All right. Mars can show anger in those relationships. All right. And you'll tell me, oh, Jupiter is there in the third house having a fifth aspect on the seventh house. So why didn't Jupiter help here? Very good question. First of all, Jupiter is in the Rahu-Ketu axis. Another thing, Jupiter is the third house where Jupiter gets into Maranakaraka Sthana. Here, Jupiter is not in a strong position. It's in a very weak position. It's in Maranakaraka Sthana. It does not have the strength to fight Rahu-Ketu and also help the seventh house. Okay. So this is a chart of Adolf Hitler for you. And the last chart that we're going to do is of Bill Clinton. For those of you who know, he had a very popular scandal of a sexual affair with his secretary or intern, will remember, which came out in the media. Okay. Now, if you see the seventh lord, Saturn has gone to the ascendant. Like I said, the seventh lord in the first house can give you multiple sexual partners or multiple relationships. It is sitting with Mercury. Mercury shows somebody who's young or somebody at work. Okay, because now we have Jupiter in the Kendra. These are the Kendra houses, and planets in Kendra help each other. Jupiter is there in the Kendra, and Jupiter can help the seventh house manage its affair. And also the fourth house in a male chart is also seen for spouse. So Jupiter in the fourth house can say that a spouse, will let the marriage go ahead. Because Jupiter is there. Jupiter belongs to Akasha Tattva, the one who binds us like a glue. So Jupiter will always try to bind the marriage to the spouse despite of troubles. And also, I don't want to say more, but you can go read about it. He was involved in certain misconduct and sexual allegations as well. Okay. Venus and Mars in the third house. Third house is your hands, the karma that you do with your hands, or your parakrama, your courage. So where it is focused with. Many other things in the chart are there. Very interesting chart. Probably one day I'll just do a video on this chart. But yeah, seventh lord in the first house. Again, a malefic planet, Saturn. Saturn gets Maranakaraka in the ascendant. So the intelligence is not working as it should be. Okay, with Mercury over here. So the dictum worked. And you can read about the scandal. For those of you who don't know, you can read about a scandal on Google. One more thing. If seventh lord is in the ascendant, it can show a spouse is always sitting on a head. Seventh house is a head. So it can show a spouse always on a head. Okay. Like there's a lot of pressure there. So if you feel like that in a marriage, then probably you'll have seventh lord in the first house. So this was it from me regarding the seventh house, the seventh lord, and the point of view of marriage and spouse related to it. Hope that some valuable information was shared across by me, thanks to the blessings of my guru and the rishis. And hope this video was very helpful to you. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for taking out your time to watch this video, because I'm sure this was a very long video. And please leave your feedback. And for those of you who want to consult, I'll leave out the details in the description box below. And I'll see you again with something very interesting, probably related to Shani or Saturn or Sarisati. Or if you want to know something, you can, leave your comment in the comment section, that which kind of knowledge or information that you want to know more about. If I can, I'll make a video on it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be back here very soon. Hari Om Tat Sat.